Hi, I'm Stuart. I've been playing Abigail for roughly 3.5, going on 4 years now. Um, I've played 3 player characters. 2 of them have permanently died. Um, and this video is about dealing with the loss of a character.
Can you tell me about the character that's lost hit you the most?
Um, the character that really hit me the most was my first character, Gary. He was the first LARP character I ever played. Really, the first thing that got me into the whole LARPing thing and like the nerd culture that we're in now. Um, he was basically, I didn't know what to do with him at first, so I made him myself. So I played myself as my first LARP character for like 2 or 3 months until things started to get involved with him. And he started as a really good character, like as a solidly like, this is what I'm doing, this is right, I have to do it the right way. And then a lot of things happened for him, and he was branded a traitor and all these other things for what he thought was the right thing. So he was branded a traitor, and that made him turn into more of a duty-based character. He wasn't about the greater good anymore. He was about like keeping his head down, doing what he was told to do no matter what. So going from a good character who was trying to save people to a character who at one point murdered a child um, to protect his lady, uh, and a bunch of other not good acts. Um, Eventually, things started to cool down for him. He stopped having to do those kinds of things. But by the time that it happened, he had already made too many enemies. And there was a big player character versus player character fight, like 2 factions fought. And he was murdered by an unknown player character, unbeknownst to me at the time. I'm still not entirely sure who it was, but yeah. And he was. It was a weird thing to have to deal with because in our game we actually fizz rep my burial, which is real weird because when you're playing a character that's yourself and looking up from your own grave, it's harsh, it's rough, it's hard to understand unless you've been there. Um, and it really, that really put a damper on the game for me because I didn't really know what to do from there. Because he was my first character, he was, who I had devoted the most time and money and effort into, and for him to die was just like almost like shocking and not entirely at all what I expected it to be. It was a lot more harsh and a lot more, just a lot of stress involved with that and stuff because it's just, you play this character for a year and a half, 2 years, and then he suddenly dies and you're kind of at a loss. Um, but I went on plot team for a while after that to kind of get my head into, what I wanted to do next. And my second character who died his name was Amir. I played him as like an old grizzled soldier. It's funny. His name and his origins and his whole story comes from a Conan the Cimmerian comic. And in the comic, Conan's grandfather, Connacht, um, is trying to go home. He's coming home from a lifetime of adventuring, and that's how I played this character, as he was trying to come home, trying to find a place to live and stay, maybe settle down and have a family. Um, and Before he died, our game changed a lot. So we went from being a political based, player character driven game to a more plot heavy, um, kind of a mystery type of game where we didn't really know what was going on. And I don't really know why, but I feel like it was to prove a point, but plot team killed me because I was in the woods and I was protecting Stephanie and 2 of my other guys. And Stephanie ran off into the woods. The 2 other guys chased her. And there were 3 other plot members chasing them. And I made the split second decision to charge the plot team, single-handedly and try and kill them and cover their retreat. And it got me killed. I took out, I think, one or two of the plot members, and then somebody got me from behind. And the two other guys, Marius and Viridius, came back. And Joe, the guy who runs the game, was alive at the time as his NPC, and he told them, "Don't move or we'll kill him." And I was already in my bleeding out count. I was already about to die. And Marius pulled a bow, and Joe said, "Kill him." And one of the other plot members hacked me, like just went ham on my face with an axe. That death actually wasn't too bad for me because I devoted not too much into this character because he was still pretty new. I'd only played him for like maybe 6 months, but to go from a long-term character and then what you're hoping to be another long-term character who dies like that is a really harsh transition, because then you're just thrown for a loop and you have no fucking clue what you're going to do next. And so now I'm playing a new character whose name is Pietro. He's a squire. And I mean, I didn't really even know what I was going to play until I talked to our plot team. I was like, "You guys, I have no idea what I want to do. Can you help me out?" So they fed me a character, and I progressed with him from there.
How did it feel to like hear and see other characters' reactions to Gary's death in play since you were still there?
It's funny. Gary was the brother to my actual out of game sister, who was my sister in game, and me and Gina have a really weird relationship. But when I died, everybody around me, she wasn't there. She ran off into the woods, and everybody around me, they were freaking out because it was such a weird thing for me to die, because I was always the guy who got called at 4 a.m. to come and check something out. I was the guy who always had your back. I was the guy in the heaviest kit, and nobody expected me to die. And Gina comes back into play, or comes back into the area and finds out that I died, and just like it was actually I almost like out of game. All my feelings came up, and like I almost cried when she was like yelling about my death, like who killed him, why is this happening. It seemed very real. That's the best thing about our game is the immersion, and her being my actual sister added a little bit to it. But it was awful seeing my sister being heartbroken over my death.
Do you feel like it's worth it to have the positive roleplay experiences and the negative ones?
Oh, definitely, yeah. You should definitely have positives and negatives, because where you can have events after events that are just good for your character, eventually something bad's going to happen, and if you go down the wrong path, it's inevitable. Something bad is going to happen inevitably. So it really aided me because coming into the game, I had no idea what I was doing. By the end of my first character's life, I had I really experienced what was going on. I really understood what it was about, and to have him die suddenly was it's weird. It was shocking, but it made me a little bit more cautious as a player, and a little bit more level-headed. But also, with my next character, I tried to make him like old, and trying to seem like he was an old man. He had seen all this before, so I could kind of use the feelings I had from my first character's death in his life. All right, my advice for people who characters may or may not, or will not die. You know what I'm saying? Like, might die or might not. But the best thing to do if your character is perma-death is take it in stride. You have to understand that it's a character, and that it was pretty much inevitable depending on your actions. So, you might have thought your character was the most kick-ass thing in the world, is the best thing, the hero of everyone. But somewhere, someone didn't think that. And, everyone, I think even in real life, everyone has an end. So it might actually help you to perma-die in a LARP, to really kind of understand death itself, if that makes any sense. Like, I'm not trying to get too deep in this video, but you know, it can really help, you know, because you'll learn to appreciate yourself and your characters and your own personal life a lot more.
Right. Something that not a lot of people talk about in general is metagaming, and especially metagaming as a new character when your last character might have known a whole
Oh,
lot
yeah.
of something.
Oh yeah.
How do you what advice do you have for fighting the urge to metagame? Forget it. How do you erase your mind of your old character's memories?
Come in as your new character with literally no idea what's going on. That is the best move, because if you come in like, oh yeah, I know vaguely about the politics of what's going on right now, you're full of shit and you're coming up with the stuff that your old character knew. What you have to do is you have to come in as your next character knowing literally nothing. Just being like, hey, I'm from this area. I've done these things. What's going on? That's the best move, because if you come in and you're like, oh, I know everything about everyone, you know, it's going to be like everybody else is going to know that you're just trying to continue your old character where he left off. So, best move, come in utterly and entirely confused about what's going on in general. That's my advice. I mean, I guess in conclusion, my best advice is, you know, buck up, get over your character's death. Don't spend too long, firstly, beating yourself up over your character's death and trying to figure out a new character, and then to figure out a new character, you know, go into something you enjoy. Don't just sit around at home, you know, being sad that your character's dead. It is sad that your character has died, but that doesn't mean your game is over.